Good evening. Welcome to the Select Board meeting and public hearing on Wednesday, May 15th, 2024 at 6 p.m. We're in the Hollis Community Building. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Is Martha here? Because she wanted to say a couple of things.
Haven't seen her.
Okay.
All right.
No. Okay, so I need a motion.
Motion to suspend the Select Board meeting to an open public hearing for all of the June 11, 2024 annual town meeting secret ballot articles, proposed ordinances, proposed ordinance changes, and the amendments to the Poland Springs Municipal Development and Tax Increment Financing District.
I second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So we're going to start out with the new town hall presentation by Great Falls Construction, Custom Concepts Architect, Northeast, whatever their name is. Civil Solutions. That's the one I always forget. And so I'm going to ask them to introduce themselves first, and then whoever's going to present. If everybody wants to go up and tell us a little bit about yourself, and then whoever's going to present can present. Including you in the back.
If you would, please.
Please. Yeah. Thanks.
Good evening, everyone. Mike Richmond, Custom Concepts Inc. Architecture from Scarborough. Grew up in this area, lived in an adjacent town for many, many years, so feel very well connected to this area. If you don't mind playing the movie, that would be great. I'm standing right in the way. Is this okay? Is this okay?
Are you going to be pointing at that screen?
Yes. Okay. Yep, thank you. I'll keep this very brief, folks. I don't know what you've seen and what you haven't seen so far, but essentially here's the site. This small building right here. This is the building we're in now. Thank you. Existing town hall is right here, which would eventually be removed. The new building you can see was set back here to create this sort of a campus environment when you drive in. Main entrance here to the open town hall portion. Separate entrance here for the meeting room. Both different access points and close-offable, if that's a word, so that this can be utilized while this is secure and vice versa. Thank you. Just a couple of images here. It's basically a full one-story structure, and this main part behind here does have a full basement because we'd be building it into the hill. So there's a lot of good storage space, which I know the town needs, and future, space that can be used in the future. We do have an elevator because of the multi-story, and we tried to keep it very simple and the architecture to go, fit within the fabric of what Hollis is all about. And essentially that's it. I could put you to sleep with different drawings and things. If you could go to the first floor plan. We've worked with the town a long time on the plan, and basically this is oriented where the road is up towards the top of the drawing. You'd be coming in this way. It's L-shaped, and as I was sort of explaining, we have the bar, if you will, center hallway, very simple, very efficient, very good egress, lots of offices flanking. When you come in, there's a central area where you can access everything that's used the most, I guess, on a day-to-day basis. And then this is the separate wing, if you will, with the meeting room. They share these bathroom facilities, and then there's a way to close this off so it can be used independently. And essentially, that's the design.
Are there any questions for Mike?
Any questions?
How big is that meeting room compared to this room?
That's an excellent question. That meeting room is, I believe, 50 foot by, Jack, I think we ended up at 80 foot?
80 foot.
Yeah, I think this is about 40 feet across. 40 by 40? Yeah, I remember counting ceiling tiles last meeting. So this is about 40-40, and that one's about 50 by 80. We happen to be showing a seating arrangement in there. It's kind of hypothetical, of course, but on a meeting like this could work. And there's about 100 seats shown. Obviously, you could fit a lot more people in there, but a good multi-purpose room, especially for voting, which was very important in the design process.
Are we anticipating growth? So have we expanded? Do we have enough space so that as things get bigger, we still have the office space for the...
Good question.
So, Mike, if you could do me a favor and repeat the question so people that watch it later can hear it. Sometimes they can't hear from the audience.
Basically, have we considered expandability? Would that be correct, right? So yes, in fact, the spaces as designed are much larger than what we currently have. Each space has small spaces within it for a potential second person if they need. And the central corridor design, just by nature, makes it sort of expandable if that day ever comes. So long answer, but yes.
Can you talk a little bit about fire suppression and any water tanks on the property?
Sure. The question was discuss fire protection and water tanks. I'll probably let Great Falls answer that a little better than I, but it'll be a fully sprinkled building. You know, it's required by code, and we're going to have a cistern water storage tank system down in the basement to service that sprinkler system. Yeah, and it'll all have to be reviewed and approved by the State Fire Marshal's office. Yes?
There's just a little one down in the corner that's all the little chairs in it.
What is this space right here?
Yeah.
That's actually the vault.
Oh, okay.
Yep. One of the discussions we had with the board many times was how do we keep the things that need to be secure and safe. So it actually would have concrete walls, a concrete ceiling to keep those things secure.
Right now, the girls just sit at a desk. It's very open in there. Is there going to be some level or a higher level of a secure area for them?
Yes, the question was, are we going to have sort of a secure area instead of an open area for employees? Yeah, so typical of what you see in a lot of municipal buildings nowadays, when you come in the center vestibule, there's going to be an open area, which, by the way, we're going to use some of the existing bow trusses from one of the old structures here in town above your head. They would be counters. Each one has its own entry door to get into, but basically you would come up to a counter and be serviced that way. So we wanted it open, there'd be lots of glass and lots of visibility, but still separate. Yes?
Can you talk about the heating system?
The heating system. Do you mind if I put that one on you? Good. Yep. Thank you. I'll have Great Falls expand on that.
Anything else? Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
Do you want a civil engineer, do you want to go next?
Okay, hi, my name is Bill Garish. I work for Northeast Civil Solutions. We're also in Scarborough, and we're the firm doing the land surveying and the civil engineering for the project. And I have a slideshow of about 8 sheets. I will go over very quickly. Certainly happy to answer any questions that you may have. That would, it would be that one, the one with the 8.2. Okay, and just briefly, that's an existing conditions plan of the site. We all kind of know where we are. We're in this building right here. Route 35 is out here, and the site slopes down in this direction towards the Saco River. Doing the boundary. You can see that the property is fairly large. Wetland areas were delineated here. There's a pond here. And, you know, basically this part of the site where the existing facilities are and the salt shed were determined to be all good upland areas.
Would you back up a little pole?
Okay, sorry. Go to the next one. Okay, and just briefly, this is a demolition plan. This shows what is staying and what is being removed. Obviously, the town hall existing is going to be reconstructed, so that gets removed. These concrete pads over here, the community building remains. We're trying to save as much of the trees along the entrance roads coming in. There will be some of the bigger trees that have to be removed just due to the proposed parking expansion, which will show up on the next drawing. So this is back up a little bit, thank you. So this is just the general site layout plan. It shows the parking areas and the entrances. The existing community building is remaining as we discussed. All of the paving is pretty deteriorated, so the whole area around here is proposed to be repaved. The proposed town hall will be in this area, as you can see, with basically the same type of entrance coming in from Route 35. We are proposing to square this intersection up a little bit just for safety reasons. And then with a total of 46 striped parking spaces, 16 of them being here. 4 accessible parking spaces in this area right next to the town hall. There is an accessible ramp here with a sidewalk, also an accessible ramp in the front of the building with a crosswalk right across the main entrance. And again, maintaining parking spaces with 2 accessible spaces right in front of the community building. The next plan just shows in general the utilities, the electric and telephone utilities will be coming in from an existing, as they do now, from an existing pole line. Down in this area of the site, there are 2 proposed wastewater disposal fields, one for the existing community building, one for the new town hall. The water supply well will be redone up in this area, which is outside of the parking area. There's a 300-foot setback, so those are the basic utilities. There is a flagpole proposed in the island, so electric will go there. And I know Great Falls is working or has worked on a site lighting plan. I'm sure they'll go over that with you shortly. And then I just have one more site slide, which shows the site grading and the drainage. And basically, we tried to maintain the existing drainage patterns to the extent that we could. This area is all impervious as it is, so there is some impervious expansion down in this area. There's a gravel parking lot proposed behind the building, actually at the lower basement level. So the grades down here, the floor elevation up above is elevation 214, and down below we are at elevation 203. And the salt shed, the access road to the salt shed will remain the same. There's an existing gate up here that will be relocated down below there, so the back can be accessed, I guess, on the non-secure side. And storm drains are fairly limited. We're maintaining the sheet flow patterns that exist currently. There will be a need to put some catch basins adjacent to the building and out discharge that down here where most of the drainage goes anyways. There's an existing culvert and storm drain system that crosses behind the salt shed and continues down the hill. So there is an outfall plunge pool proposed here to handle stormwater. Rainwater from the roof is proposed to be collected by drip edges, basically stone drip edges around the building perimeter with under drains that also convey the stormwater out in this direction. So to the extent possible, the development is going on the areas that are currently developed and currently impervious. And then I have three more I'll just go over very briefly. I'm sure maybe Great Falls will go over it in maybe a little more detail, but just general phasing of the project. Obviously, the existing town hall has to remain functional throughout the construction process as well as the community building. So the first phase is basically to build the new town hall and the direct adjacent areas around the town hall. Parking will be somewhat limited through that time frame. Construction access will have to come through the upper road, but the existing town hall building and the existing community building, will remain operational. And then phase two is kind of a small phase just to construct some parking areas out in front of the existing or the new town hall while maintaining operations, switching over to the new town hall for operations, and again keeping the community building. So there will be some parking limitations through this phase as well, but the intent is to have the new town running, the existing community building still operational, and some new parking to be constructed, and then going on to the last phase, and again, just in general, doing the additional paving around the community building, and again, trying to keep both facilities open and operational and safe throughout the construction process. So that's what I had. If you had any questions about the site.
On your previous slide, if you go back to that. Next one over. I guess we're looking at the plan of the site building. There you go. Do you have any stormwater retention ponds, either expanded or new, besides the catch basins and your lines leading to your low point?
No, we haven't incorporated any significant detention. We've kind of kept the water going where it does. There's some water, there's some drainage down here by the salt shed, and there's some existing drainage here. The water that does get collected in the catch basins goes to an outfall plunge pool, which is about a 3 foot deep. It's probably 15 feet by maybe 10 feet. Riprap basin, to basically dissipate the energy from the water, and then it continues down the hill into the river.
So no ponds?
No ponds, no.
Because I'm thinking about, pre-winter, post-winter, ice, kids. That was my concern. Going back to your last slide that you had.
The other way?
Right about there.
Okay.
I'm gonna touch the sticky wicket. You're gonna have construction vehicles coming and going, people still doing business with town hall on a daily basis. Have you given any thought to curbing the drop-off and pickup lines that happen with the school twice a day?
Well,
They take up a good portion of the driveway.
yeah, no, and that's a very good question. This phasing plan is very general, and there are a number of notes that provide guidance on what process has to take place. But I won't speak for Great Falls, but I know there will be a lot of coordination. There'll be a lot of barricades, and basically, the whatever needs to happen to keep everybody safe and away from construction and keep the place operational will be coordinated on a day-to-day basis, and And you know, that will certainly be a significant concern during this phase of the project, and all phases for that matter. Having, you know, construction operations with open and operational buildings takes a lot of safety. So I know there's going to be safety meetings and all kinds of stuff. I'll leave it to Great Falls to get into more detail, but just in general, your point is very well taken.
Well, again, kids' safety, recreation area, construction, excitement, bad mix.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Anything else from anybody for Bill?
Okay, thank you. And I'll turn things over to
Thank you.
Karen.
Good evening. I'm Karen James from Great Falls Construction, and Jim Anderson is our estimator, one of our estimators at Great Falls, but was responsible to put together the primary proposal for this project. He and I worked together quite a bit on it and worked with the Board of Selectmen and obviously the design team. So thank you very much for having us tonight. I want to assure you, sir, about the safety. We obviously do a lot of constructing in and around places with children, like schools and daycares. So we totally understand your concern, and I know that I don't work in the operations department anymore, but we do have a staff of, 60 people that are out there every day, along with our great subcontractors, like site contractors, who help us do the Jersey barriers and separation to keep construction separate from operations on the site. So we take that very seriously, and certainly will continue to do so on this project. So I'm here, I guess, to just speak to the construction component of it. We were engaged to do a competitive bid process using the documents that we have available as from architects, civil and structural, and then also do a design build, mechanical, electrical, plumbing, scope of work that we use to help guide decision making and pricing, and presented a proposal to the Board of Selectmen. So to answer one earlier question on the heating system, what we have proposed is a VRF, which is variable refrigerant flow. That will be the primary heating and cooling for the building for 12 months of the year. And then there's also 2 gas-fired circulating hot water boilers that will provide the hot water, domestic hot water heat, and supplemental backup on the really cold, during the really cold winter season.
Hello? Can you hear me now?
Oh, I'm sorry. I guess it wasn't on. So could you hear that? Did you hear that and understand that? Okay. And then the sprinkler system, we're planning for a 20,000 gallon water storage in the basement. We are limited to using a single phase fire pump for that system because there is no 3-phase power available on the site. And the furthest away, they don't even have 3-phase on 35. So we did look at a cost analysis of bringing phase 3 power for the sprinkler, which 3-phase pump is better but not required. And the cost was just really exorbitant to bring 3-phase power into the site. So we opted for the storage, water storage inside the building and a single phase fire pump. So any other specific questions about the construction or the cost proposal or details? Yes?
Is it not considered to have renewable energy for heating?
It definitely was considered. Yeah, and I think that solar is still, still is an option to add on, but wasn't included in the cost at this time.
What about radiant heat with that?
Radiant heat is an optional add-on. Yeah.
But that had to be done when it was being built.
It would. We'd have to make that decision. Before we pour the slab. Right. But the boilers that are in the project right now would have a manifold to feed that radiant heat. So that would be early decision making depending on how the vote goes and if there's budget enough to cover radiant heat. We are hoping to do that in the basement.
I think it'd be nice to hear the dollar savings amount in the long run, because even though the new town hall may pass, and then you say whatever the dollar amount is after, I think people need to know that, you know, one versus the other, because we may save a lot of money or not having radiant heat. So I think that, you know, those estimates should go out to the public to understand that.
You know, we did what was asked of us. So, I mean, I'm happy to look at the alternate pricing, but I don't know how to answer that question.
I thought you just said that first it had to be decided whether it was going to be voted in, and then, what did you say after that? That, I thought you said there was going to be considerations after that.
So we've done a proposal. Maybe you want to pull this up, our proposal. Yep. And so, I guess just keep going. So the total proposal is broken down into what in our construction industry is called divisions, and that kind of describes what work is covered under each division. So if you keep going, scrolling down. Keep going. Keep going. We're into division 20. 21, 22. So right here, this is kind of the description that we have for our heating, cooling, plumbing. And then if you keep scrolling down, electrical, and then site work. And then we had, our exclusion. I'm sorry. So after we did this proposal, we did some alternate add-ons for radiant and basement. I think that those were requested. So we have those numbers, I guess.
So you have the numbers of what it would cost to run the building with either kind of system, and at what point is that going to be decided? What do you use?
So both systems are included and are encouraged to be installed when we build the building. So it isn't one or the other. So the VRF is a variable refrigerant flow. That's an electric powered system with electric powered condensers to provide cooling capacity and heating. And then there's two gas-fired boilers, and they are the powerhouse of heat for when we need it during our cold season. So VRF systems are great, you know, in most other climates, but in Maine, they're still recommending that you have a backup. And gas-fired hot water is the most cost-effective backup that there is. Plus, it gives you your domestic hot water. So it will only run during heating seasons and when you need hot water.
The radiant heat will be built in?
Radiant heat will only be in the basement, and that's only if they want to, put it in down there. Because right now it's storage, so it's like an optional add-on to heat the basement using radiant heat.
Is that number in the actual overall cost right now?
The
or is that
radiant piping is not,
Okay, so that would be something, a decision that would be made.
but the boilers that would run the radiant heat is.
Okay,
So,
understood.
so it's a small number to just put the piping in the concrete before we pour it. And that decision will be made as we buy things out and we make sure that the cost isn't exceeded, because we did a price on an early set of plans. The plans are gonna get fully developed, we're gonna go to permitting, and, we'll see how we are in budget.
And radiant heat was not considered for the main floor. Just the
Radiant
sub-
heat really can't be considered for the main floor because of the construction, it's really designed, I mean, you can staple it up underneath, but the main floor is plywood didn't consider radiant on the main floor. Because I think the VRF system is more cost effective and it provides air conditioning. So the
What's the name of that other heat that they drill deep into the ground?
geothermal,
Yeah, they considered that even? Have you considered that?
we did not. In my experience with geothermal, that's really, really high cost to install.
I thought usually it might be more cost efficient for you to use.
Yeah, I've been involved in 3 geothermal, I think 2 schools in Gorham, have geothermal, and, I don't know, one, there are 2 different kinds of systems, but operationally, I don't know, I've just heard that they've been circulating electrical pump, electricity to run the circulating pumps required for geothermal was a high cost to maintain.
To Karen's point, I live in Gorham, and the middle school, the middle school in Gorham had a geothermal system, and I think after 20 years, the majority of the pumps within the school had to be replaced. It was a huge dollar amount. And to Karen's point, also the upfront cost to drill the number of wells. I'm not a mechanical engineer, I don't understand the whole process, but there are a lot of expenses with the geothermal that upfront and down the road on the maintenance cost. And with the VRF system, it's similar, for lack of a better term, again, it's like a heat pump. And somehow it's able to pull heat and cooling out of that refrigerant based upon the season. They're very efficient, and on those really cold days in January, when it's say 10 below and they have a hard time keeping up, the baseboard heat around the perimeter will make up for that difference. And again, the boilers were sized to handle that heat, the hot water, and the future radiant in the slab. So to Karen's point, that ad would be a fairly small one if we decide to do that, where we just install the PEX tubing within the slab and it ties up to the manifold and add some circulator pumps.
And the boilers are heated with oil?
Propane, which is a much more efficient fuel than heating oil.
And a higher BTU output.
Right, yeah, get more of a BTU output.
I guess I'm just a little surprised that we don't have a comparison of cost for having, radiant heat on the first floor versus, what solar would cost us to add into, the heat pump. Because I know myself living here, my heat pump lasts until November, and then we have to have that extra heat from November to, at least late February, mid-March and there, so.
And again, heat pump, it's a little more involved with the VRF systems. They're designed to heat and cool with the new technologies throughout the entire season, but we know some of the days are super cold. And a lot of the offices are adding a little bit of the baseboard heat just to make it up on those days. But to your point,
Oh, sorry. I want to make sure that we're clear that additionally, beside the VRF system, I know that we don't have radiant in the concrete, but we do have hot water, unit heaters and cabinet unit heaters and wall heaters and thin tube radiation in our proposal to be the backup. So radiant heat within the concrete would be like an enhancement.
Maybe it just needs to be put closer to your...
Maybe it's Jim's fault. Okay. Okay. Yes.
That baseboards are more efficient than radiant heat and heating larger spaces.
We've done a lot of analysis for a lot of different clients, and we've gotten feedback from clients. I think radiant heat universally is really, really comfortable for people who are on their feet all day, working like in a garage. We put them in public works because people are standing on them every day. In an environment like this where you're sitting and you're able to move around and go to different spaces, the primary points where you need the really blast of warm air is your vestibules, in your hallways, but your offices stay pretty comfortable. So if your spaces are smaller, like they are in a town office, we think that it's more efficient, and I guess proven that it's more efficient to do the VRF with the fin tube than it is to pay for radiant and keep that temperature, because it fluctuates slowly, where cabinet unit heaters and fin tube fluctuate quickly. So when you need heat first thing in the morning, kick it on. It's just more efficient when your rooms and, when your spaces to heat are smaller. We do them in public works a lot because they've got these huge warehouses, They've got these huge spaces that they're warm all the time and kind of stay constant all the time. Not like this, where you're in for the day and out all night, out all weekend.
But are you considering the amount of people coming and going into that building and leaving on a
Certainly, the engineer did. Yeah, they did the heating and cooling load calculations, definitely.
What's the biggest drawback from adding radiant heating after the building is finished? Radiant heating to the first floor?
Not a good way. You can't. There's no way to get it in there. So either we're putting in the tube when we're pouring the concrete and just not connecting it, and having it there for if you want to connect it later, right? We can have a manifold with a valve that just is off the hot water boilers.
So the basement ceiling and the first floor?
It won't radiate. It's too thick, right? Going up through a deck and 3 inches of concrete, it's too thick. You really want your piping in that 3 inches of concrete.
So the flooring of the first floor is going to be concrete?
Well, the support, the floor structure is concrete. The flooring, it will be finished. We'll cover the concrete on the first floor with flooring, finished flooring.
And there's no access for a later application of that type of heating system?
Not at this moment, but obviously we haven't built it yet, so we can do it, right? We can do whatever the town wants.
And solar panels are not part of the proposal?
Solar panels are not part of the proposal, but the roof structure will support them if they want to be added in the future.
Because that's pretty darn close to front-end southern exposure.
Oftentimes we find that municipalities will contract with a solar company after we're out of the picture. So we design for them, make sure the structure will support them, put in pathways for them, maybe even put in structure in the electrical room for the feed to the panel, and then they make a deal with a solar company, because usually you get your rebate and it kind of covers, expense. Yeah, but it's after we're out of the picture, and that works efficiently for the municipality, usually. Any other questions? Or yes.
Is there anywhere in the plans for a kitchen?
Yes, definitely.
Because we had one once here, and when they redid this one, we lost it.
Well, there is a plan for a kitchen, and right here. So this right here is a kitchen and break room for staff.
And that's all it is for. That's not for the general public to use for small groups or anything, because we always had this one down here where the kids could have a Thanksgiving feast for the appreciation of the folks that had bought groceries and for the food bank, and our kitchen that we lost it, so they couldn't do it. And then the senior group all they could do was just bring their casseroles and set them on the shelf and plug them in, and all of the dishes are gone. And the town used to be able to use the elementary school over here to put on public suppers and use that cafeteria. Kent don't do that anymore. So it was a big thing. Maybe the crowds that would come wouldn't make it. That kitchen certainly wouldn't be big enough, would it?
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I don't know
Rita.
how many people.
I'm gonna jump, Rita, they have a brand new oven down here now. They've been cooking down here.
Oh, they have?
Yes.
And we have new sinks, and we have a refrigerator and everything.
Yep.
Good.
Jim has something to add on Radiant.
In regards to radiant heat in an office facility, as it heats the concrete, like on the concrete deck, you've got that big mass of warmth. One of the disadvantages of radiant is in the shoulder seasons when that heats up. Say you have a cold day in October, and the next day it's warm. That heat is still there. Same thing in the springtime, and it also tends to limit how you can, in an office, someone in office A might want to be at 68 degrees, and office B might want to be at 72. The VRF system allows for more individual control of those temperatures, versus I'm not sure if Radiant allows you to get to that level of control. And to Karen's point, the Radiant works great in garages, but sometimes yes.
From what I understand, maybe I don't know enough, but you don't use primarily radiant heat. You keep radiant heat at a low level so that you don't have the fluctuations of the room becoming cold at night, going down to however many low
Sure.
degrees. You have that constant heat, maybe, at 40 degrees, at 60 degrees, whatever. And then the other heat doesn't have to work as hard. So that, I think that's what's becoming savings.
Sure, and we can talk to our mechanical subcontractor to see if that is an advantage.
I think what we have to look at is what is the best cost for us?
Sure.
Because that's one of the biggest costs for running a building is the heat.
Right, your upfront cost versus your operational cost.
So I'm just, that's where my question's.
Sure, and I think our mechanical subcontract would be able to provide us with that information as well. As this system is what we've included, but the operational cost would be X versus this system is Y.
Thank you.
Sure.
Anybody else?
Yes. Martha Hoff, Hollis Town Clerk. Can you bring up the drawing of the layout of the building for me, please? And I apologize if this was discussed at the beginning because I didn't get tuned in a little bit. The clerk's office is open till 7 over there. So if this is approved at town meeting, what's the timeline? Do you start breaking ground on July 1st or?
We hope to.
Okay, all right. So one of the things I was looking at when you were talking about the parking being limited is we do have a November 5th presidential primary election. So we're going to need parking spaces for that. And generally, and you have no way to know this whole side is usually not open to the public because of the children that are there. So I don't know if there's something we can do to accommodate that extra traffic on that day. We have to have handicap slots available, and obviously our access will still be here. But that was one of the questions I had when I looked at that. The other thing is, and I couldn't see when it came up on my screen, do you know how big our safe is now? Nobody, okay. Do you know how big this safe is? The vault, yes.
Not by memory, but I do have the plans and I can dig it out.
Okay, because, I mean, and I don't know, I couldn't read the scale when I was looking at it from my desk. So one of the things I want to, let me back up and say this. So if we approve this and vote on it, we're voting for this plan and no changes can be made to it?
I don't think anybody said that.
Okay, that's what I was just
No.
wondering, because as I said, I got kind of in there.
I think when you're talking your vault, and we talked about, okay, right from the bottom up, so you're basically gonna get like 2 vaults.
Right, but I'm saying that I personally don't want to see the town records in a basement that's cold and damp. I mean, they should be preserved to the best of their ability. Granted, our year-end stuff that we have to keep for 7 years, I don't have a problem putting that in the basement. But I don't know if you realize that in that safe, I think we have 4 shelves along the 3 walls, and all of those shelves have double books on them. So it's not just one row, there's another row. So we need twice as much space as what we have right now. So that's what I was looking at, is do we have enough space?
So excellent question. It's been a long time since I did the measurements and
Right.
initial interviews in the building,
Me
if
too.
you remember
I
that.
was trying to count floor squares before I
Yeah.
came over.
This is approximately 20 feet by 20 feet.
Okay.
And I forget the dimensions of your current one, but this is
Yeah,
substantially
I got
larger.
about 9 by 10, but I was just estimating the
Right.
floor tiles, so.
So you're going to be
More like
getting
double
double.
A
size.
little bit more,
Yeah.
yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right,
Double.
good. I like that.
Yeah.
Well, quadrupled if you add in your basement.
Yes, that's
True.
true.
It won't be cold.
Well,
and damp.
I won't name it, but we have a storage kind of off-site that's, I understand is quite full. All right. So then on that plan, we have and can I come up to it, is that all right? And I know this means rerouting all the stuff, but why would you not, I mean, I get it why you want bathrooms next to the meeting room, but is there any way to put that kitchen on this side so you have access to that without having to open up your whole, I'm not sure where the close-off's gonna be for the thing. And,
It's designed to be here.
okay, all right, so we'd have access to the bathrooms and the break room and stuff, okay. And then my only other comment is you got voting down here, town clerk's down here. That's it's a ways away, so. And then we've hired another employee, so I didn't see an office for the registrar. Do we know how big the clerk's office is? I'm asking you a lot of hard questions. It's all about me.
Need roller skates.
Yes. Well, I mean, we have to bring it over here now, but I do have a storage closet, and I only see one small storage closet there in that meeting room.
This is all storage.
It's a lot of.
Okay.
Yep, there's lots of storage.
Okay, because my election storage goes from that wall all the way down to that
Mhm.
thing. I mean, it's obviously not enclosed right at the moment, but that's election stuff. That should be in a closed door, so.
We're trying to look at the small
Yeah,
plan.
that's okay, I get
The
it.
new
That's why
office.
I couldn't see it
Yeah,
either.
the new office would be about 18 feet by 18 feet.
Okay, and I don't know what I have now, but.
Yeah.
Okay, though, that's good, I'll look at that. And then my other comment, and I think some of the other office staff shares this comment, is there's one entrance to the vault, and it goes through the town clerk's office. So there's, they have to come through an office to get into the vault. I don't know that that's a big deal. Is there a reason that the vault's on the end wall? Is it easier to construct that way?
Correct, and I'll answer the first question as well. So initially, during the design discussions early on, we were asked to do that so that whoever was in the clerk's office it was a control point or a checkpoint, if you will, for whoever's going in and out of the vault.
Interesting, okay.
It can be redone, but that's what we were asked to
Yeah,
do initially.
No, that's fine.
Yeah.
I was asked by the people, by the staff.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, yeah, that's fine. It's just that they have, and the other thing, and this is a point, and I don't know, and maybe we can build that in, is that the tax collector uses the safe, and so does the treasurer. We are not supposed to have access to each other's items. So they should have somehow a secure space for, the tax collector has license plates. And luckily we all get along, we're pretty honest, but she's financially responsible for all of those. So if I were to walk out with a few at the end of the day, it could cause a problem. Same thing with ballots. I am My count needs to come out. So right now we have quite a bit of traffic in and out of that safe without any security from one office to the other. Great if you have honest people that can get along, but if
sure
the
we
dominoes
do, yeah.
start to fall, it could be a problem. I'm not saying we're gonna have a problem, I hope we never do, but it's just, while we're building it, if there's a way to put something like that into.
So one of the things that we've been exploring is the furniture that goes into that vault. And so some will be open, but others will be secured.
Okay, so locked.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes.
Okay, that would be a viable solution, I would think, for everybody involved. And I think I heard it mentioned as well by someone, is the in and out traffic for the school during construction. I mean, right now they utilize the whole thing here, so I think obviously that'll need to be addressed during construction, the safety of the kids. So.
Yes, we did address that.
Good.
Or we talked about it anyway.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Thank you. As I said, I wasn't over here quite yet, so thank you very much.
Yes.
Anybody else?
I'm gonna touch on what you're saying about the registrar of voters. So you have a lot of people going
Here,
in.
use the mic so that they can, because they can't hear you at home when you're asking these good questions. They don't know
So,
what's
and
the
I'm
answer.
gonna walk up to there. So you've got your elderly walking in to vote. The odds are they're gonna be walking in here to vote.
Correct.
There's a problem with their registration, they have to go see the registrar. Are you gonna have someone here, or are they gonna walk down?
No.
It's the election place is set up on election day. We have a specific plan that has been approved by the state elections office, and when we move to relocate to a new building, likewise, we'll have to do the same thing. So right now, the registrar is right, I don't know if I should touch this TV, but right here by the door.
Okay.
So right there by that door. So they come in, if they're not on the voting list, they just take a few steps back, and they can fix their registration.
Okay.
Yeah, and
'Cause
if
I was
I'm
like,
on
boy,
the
that's a
table.
lot of walking for the elderly.
Yeah. And
There's
this-
no
And
way.
this isn't a popular thing, but if I'm on the table, I tell them to go cut right back in line, so. Some of them make them go back and start again, so.
And then I did have one more question about your vault. And do you have that, controlled, the, like humidity, heat, that all needs to be controlled? Is that incorporated?
Yep.
Awesome. So we have nothing now.
Yeah.
I love it because it's cold, but nobody else likes it. It's cold. Rita, did you have another question? Okay.
Not right this minute. I was thinking something.
Thank you very much for taking the time to answer those. I'm gonna go back to work. There we go.
I have a question about the humidification. So does the vault specifically have what you need for archival preservation of those documents?
I can't answer that off the top of my head. I don't.
know who should address that, but
Well,
I think the idea that we have a vault for our town records, it should be archivally at that level of humidification that protects.
Yep. So that's one of the things that we're going to follow up
you.
on with our engineer and
Yeah.
sub. But I'm sorry, I don't know that.
Okay, and I didn't know with this plan, if we have included all the stuff that goes inside the town hall, like the chairs and the whatever, and I was wondering if things like a couple of wheelchairs are gonna be added in, so that if somebody's at the parking lot and you see them struggling, we can actually assist them with the wheelchair that belongs to the town hall. I was just throwing that out there.
That can certainly be something that we address when we address the furniture. That's not part of
I was
Karen's
wondering, I
plan.
didn't know where the furniture fit in, thanks.
Yeah.
We have been working on the furniture.
Okay.
Yep, to make
You
sure.
guys are gonna provide that, yeah.
Well, we don't provide it, but we're working with a third party
Okay, great.
supplier.
Yeah.
So we have been working to just like establish the budget to make sure that that's good.
Yeah, I
Yep.
know a lot of public buildings have a couple of wheelchairs available.
Yep.
And watch for ergonomically correct seats.
Yes,
Thank
yes,
you.
that is high on our list.
Thank you. I don't know where this goes.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Who is the point person or the actual clerk of the works that represents the town? Who's the point person for all of the construction or town?
Well, the whole
volunteer
board
or
is,
staff?
actually.
Sorry?
The whole board is.
The select board? I guess
Well, oftentimes, a large project like this has a representative.
we're going to be discussing that later in the meeting.
Is the
We
representative
do
of the
have,
town,
yeah, we're
not-
going to
not
have
theirs.
somebody will be announcing it later in the meeting. Thank you. Anybody else, Miss Rita?
Here, I can come to you.
It works, you just gotta put it up here.
When you were showing the basement, that you've got a basement that is in the back side of the building, is there an access from outside?
Yes.
Because I didn't see it on the drawing.
We're looking just at the first floor right now, so if you can take me.
It was one that the purple, I think it was purple on the bottom or something, on the other outside. Oh, I see.
Yep, so
Okay,
there's a
okay.
double door here, there's a roll-up door here, and a double door here.
Now, is that all storage space for, or is it?
Oh, and mechanical. So
All
that's where
mechanical
that's
then.
where all the mechanical and electrical infrastructure will be, as well as the storage tanks for the sprinkler system
Okay,
and storage
Okay.
and the lower level vault storage
okay.
and stairwell and elevator.
Because I thought I wouldn't want to be down there and get caught some night, maybe. If I was somebody that was working there.
We wouldn't let you get stuck in there.
No, I wouldn't be in there because I don't need to be in there, but I don't want somebody to get trapped in there some night. That wouldn't be a funny thing.
Anything else? Any Zoom people?
You know something, Rita, you just lit a bulb for me,
Uh-oh.
and that's unusual. With that vault, let's just say someone went in there and someone comes along and that door gets shut. Is there a panic button or something, you know? I guarantee you ain't gonna have any cell phone.
No, right now they have a way to get out of the vault we have, and they'll have a way out of the vault.
What's the secret?
There's hardware, panic hardware. Yeah.
Oh, panic
Yeah.
hardware, okay. Oh, simple, okay, crash bar? What if the bar breaks? I gotta play the devil's advocate here. I'm looking for that panic button.
It won't be like in the hospital when they put you in with a patient that's in security or whatever, and all of a sudden the door swings shut on you, and you're waiting for somebody at the front desk to notice that you're in the room going, hey.
We haven't gotten into the
Oh, I know,
details,
I know.
but I'm certain that there could be a sensor in there
Well,
that would be
there's a
tied
lot of
to
good
the
points
fire
that came
alarm.
out
Yeah.
tonight
Yeah.
that we can have discussion, you know,
Yeah.
before that ground's broke, you know.
But a panic button would be good.
Or just a sensor.
Yeah.
Like if it's after hours, it would alert. Yep.
Thank you. Anybody else? So I'd like to have Karen or somebody, Mike or Troy or somebody. Troy, did we meet you? Come on up and just say hello. Just say hello. That's Troy. He's just gonna say hello.
I am Troy McDonald from Northeast Civil Solutions. I work with Bill on the surveying engineering side of this project.
Right, and they're working on the environmental things for me, so they're working very hard. And then the other person was Jim, right? Jim Anderson works with Karen. Mike came by himself. But just so you know who our team is, and if you ever have any questions for them, just send them our way and we'll get your answers. We'll send them to them and they can answer you directly, or we can, whatever. So, thank you so much.
Thank you, folks.
Thanks for inviting us.
Any other questions for them before they scoot?
You already explained it.
Thank
I
you all
know.
for coming. Deeply
Thank you so
appreciate
much
it.
for coming. We appreciate all your hard work. So we'll be talking about that radiant heat and all that. Well, maybe the piping down the bottom and the flooring. Well, we'll have to talk about it. Why not? Yeah.
Forget it, I ain't saying no more on this.
No, we're not. Okay, so next we're gonna go over the warrant. Does everybody have a copy of the warrant to look at while we whip through it? We're not gonna read it word for word this time. We're just gonna go over high points. There's copies on the
right there on the
table if you
table.
wanna go ahead and grab yourself a copy. If anybody wants one. So we're not going to read it word for word, but we're just going to go through each article. And if you have a specific question on the article, just raise your hand, come up to the mic, and speak on the article, okay? Article 1 is pretty straightforward. We do elect a moderator at each town meeting. Article 2 is to elect the necessary town officials. As you all know, we have a select board member that's running. It happens to be Roger Hicks, who's on my left. We have a treasurer who's running, which is Diane Meserve, and a road commissioner who's running for a 2-year term, Rob Hansen. I don't think they have anybody running against them. Article 3 is the property tax levy limit. And my understanding is that they repealed LD1 this last legislative session, so we probably won't be seeing a property tax levy limit next year. Any questions on those first 3? Article 4 is just to raise, appropriate, and expend up to $1,487,809 for general government operations. And they're listed there. They're just our usual administration, broadcasting, the treasurer, the town clerk, elections, tax collector, assessing, legal fees, operations and management, the Salmon Falls Library, insurance, and main PERS. And there's more on the next page. FICA, veteran flags, and code enforcement officer. Any questions on Article 4? Yes, ma'am.
Yes. I'm just curious. I see that administration and operation and management, those amounts went down. What did you guys do to lower those costs? And is that going to take into account if the new town hall gets passed? So I would imagine that would
Operations and management went down because we had a $30,000 capital expense in the budget last year. We spent that money, so that's why that went down.
Okay.
And your other one was
administration.
Administration. I think it decreased in cost for like computers and some of our programs that you get yearly. Our costs went down because we had some programs that we weren't using anymore that we canceled.
Okay.
Thank you. Article 5 is for an animal control officer for $52,200. Any questions on Article 5?
We talked to the town of Buxton to share an ACO, and by putting that person full-time, it would be half in Buxton, half in Hollis. We did some numbers, and that's what it came up to. But it'll actually be a little bit lower than 52. It's closer to 46. But in the initial cost, it was 52. So it's actually taken and making a full-time person. Yes, sir.
If that's the case, do they contact Buxton if there's an issue, or do they contact somebody in Hollis?
If we voted in and then Buxton does the same, yes, it will go through Buxton Dispatch.
So it goes through the dispatch to the police department, and then to the ACO.
The Buxton Police Department?
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
Not the Hollis Police Department?
Well, we don't have one, so.
I thought that was coming up.
No, we were
No.
trying.
Tom?
Hopefully someday.
Are we sharing that ACO with any other? Does that ACO have responsibilities in any other town besides Buxton?
No, it's just Buxton and Hollis.
So the ACO that we're going to employ for $52,000 at most is only covering
Buxton and Hollis. Yes,
That's
sir.
correct.
Any other-
Yep.
All right.
She currently covers for us now, but it goes through the dispatch, and then
And she doesn't cover for any other towns as well,
not currently.
Well, yeah, Buxton.
Buxton.
besides Buxton though.
My understanding is she's not covering any other towns right now,
Okay.
but I don't know for sure. So
She used to in Leamington, but she doesn't
cover there anymore.
And I believe 2 other towns as well.
Okay.
So let's double check.
Well, she wouldn't be if she's hired full time for Buxton and Hollis. She won't be covering any other towns.
Okay. Fantastic. Thank you guys.
You're welcome. Article 6 is for $24,210 to pay for some of our committees. And any questions on Article 6 for its committees and boards? Article 7 is for the Recreation Department and Sports Complex for a total of $449,524. Any questions on Article 7? Article 8 is to raise, appropriate, and expend up to $1,379,150 for public works, which includes snow and sanding, highway paving, solid waste disposal, and streetlights. Any questions on those? You're up.
Shall the town raise, appropriate, and expend up to $1,319,981 for emergency services? That's the fire department and rescue. Excuse me. Any questions on the fire budget?
And some of that is because we're increasing the number of permanent full-time staff that we have covering the fire and rescue department.
Shall the town raise, appropriate, and expend $126,690 for general assistance? That's closer to what we actually expend, and currently the state reimburses us 70%.
We were hoping that would go up to 90% this year, but they didn't increase that. Instead, they increased the responsibilities, so now it sounds like general assistance is more like a social worker or a counselor or a grief counselor. So be interesting to see how they educate us to do all that.
Shall the town raise and appropriate and expend $37,775 for the following non-municipal requests? And
they're listed there.
Article 12, shall the select board authorize the select board and tax collector to charge interest at 8.5 and installed in 2 payments, first due on November 6th and the second on May 7th. And I had a question before and I couldn't answer it, but the state actually sets those rates between the 8.5 and there was another one.
The 4.5.
4.5. So that's why those rates are what they are. The state sets them.
Because someone asked why we didn't refund 8.5, and we can't because the state says it's 4.5 for refunds on overpayments.
All right. Article 13, shall the town accept and apply estimated anticipated revenues and reimbursements in the amount of $3,361,800 to the 24-25 tax commitment? And these are monies that we receive back: dog fees, code enforcement fees, rescue fees, any fees that we charge come back to us. And you'll see the numbers on the right-hand column. Any questions on that? Shall the town raise and appropriate and expend up to $35,150 for non-municipal Hollis Center Library? That's Article 14.
And then Article 15, shall the town raise, appropriate, and expend up to $20,000 to upgrade and improve the walking path of the Hollis Sports Complex. We have a lot of people use that walking path, and it really needs some work. It's got grass growing in the middle, and it just needs to be upgraded. So we're hoping that people approve that so we can upgrade it this year. The next article is, shall the town raise, appropriate, and expend up to $50,000 to replace the siding and any incidentals at the Salmon Falls Library? Because we had a risk management assessment, and he recommended that we get the library painted. And everybody that came to evaluate whether they could paint it said we would be wasting money because the siding is sort of deteriorated and is not paintable, if that's a word. And that's just an estimate, and we're trying to get someone to give us some estimates on that. And then I'll let Roger read the most important one.
Shall the town authorize the select board to spend up to $7,500,000 to construct a new town hall with no increase to taxes? Financing will be $3,500,000 from the TIF account. $2 million. We were approved by the federal government for a $2 million grant, and $1,150,000 from the general fund, $450,000 from the state and fiscal recovery funds, and $400,000 from the sale of town property, leading up to $700 and.
Mm-hmm.
What is the town property? Just curious with that.
The town property, Jack, you want to handle that? You did the sales on all of
Doing
it.
a great job.
Go ahead, Jack.
It's tax-acquired property that was put out, with a realtor. It's years ago, they used to put a bid, but it was turned over to a realtor, and that money would come in.
Rita, you asked the question on the breakdown. It's $6.6 million roughly on the lump sum. I put $400,000 in contingency for any changes or anything that comes after we listen to people and get the final plans drawn, and then $500,000 for new furnishings for the town hall. So that's where the $7,500,000 comes from. Any questions?
And of course, if it gets not approved, then we have to give the $2 million back to the federal government. So we're hoping that it gets approved.
So the town authorized the select board to spend from the tax increment account 2025 as they deem necessary to fund any unanticipated expenses or emergencies that are clearly authorized in the TIF agreement. It's more or less emergency things for the TIF area. Any questions on that one? 19, shall the town authorize the select board to annually spend up to $200,000 from the undesignated funds as they deem necessary to fund and meet unanticipated expenses or emergency that may occur with the unanimous vote of the Select Board and the approval of the Finance Committee for each occurrence. Which means if we have an emergency, the Select Board has to totally agree, and then it is presented to the Finance Committee for approval also.
And we don't do that very often. The most recent one was for the waste management program because we increased the number of houses, and our contract said that if we increased over a certain number, that then we needed to provide him with more funds for waste disposal. So that was, I think, the last time we asked.
Correct. Article 20, shall the town authorize the Select Board to carry forward specific amount balances from the current year to the same account for ensuing years for a specific purpose for each account? These are known as carry forwards, which I am trying to, as I'm doing the budget, I started doing it and started curtailing it, which led us to write a new policy on expending money. So by the end of the month, May 31st, we expect any long-range expenditures from any of the department heads to be brought forward to us prior to the end of May, so that we can review it and determine whether or not we're going to carry the money forward. There are some protected accounts that we have that we carry forward each year. That's normal. So that's for the carry forwards. Article 21, shall the town accept the state snowmobile registration funds and disperse them to the Hollis Snowmobile Club? Usually we do this every year. Article 22, shall the town amend the Hollis disposal of tax acquired property ordinance as written by the statute? There's copies there on the table. It was a new mandate that came out from the state which created the change.
Can I ask a quick question about Article 21?
Sure.
The reason that we can't say, can the town accept money yearly? Because every year I see that same article.
No, it's required that if it's financial at all, it has to be on the warrant every year. I tried that and got
It
vetoed.
would be nice.
It would be nice, yeah. Or forever. But yeah. You're
23,
welcome.
shall the town adopt the general fund balance ordinance, Town of Hollis, Maine, as recommended by the town auditor? Basically what this is it is a rainy day fund. And when I started looking at this, I started talking with the auditor. We took 1.75 million out of the undesignated fund balance. I moved it into a special account, and we went from earning 1.5% interest on it to 4.75% interest. So within the first 2 weeks, it was close to $3,000 we earned in interest from April 17th to the end of April. So what that does is the interest just keeps accruing in that, and it stays there. So that's our rainy day fund. And as we get it up to, I'm hoping 2.5 million, then any excess from there can be designated for special projects the town approves. So that we're not, that makes us solvent so that we can pay our bills in bad times. So that's the intent of that. Any questions? Yes, sir.
Does that require a change of lender?
Nope.
Same lender.
Same lender. When I started talking with the bank in January, we were earning on our operations account 1%. On the TIF account, we were earning 3.75. So in those short conversations with the auditor, Ron Smith, who was here at the last meeting, we started talking with the bank. We went from 1% on our operation budget to 1.5. We went from 3.75 on our TIF account to 4.25%. And then when I started researching and talking with the auditor again about taking some of our undesignated funds and moving them over and setting them in that account, we're doing better at the 4.75. So it's just making us more financially stable as we go down the road. Shall the town amend the disposal of town property, not real estate ordinance as written?
And this was basically to include such things as when you cut trees, or you take minerals or gravel out of an area and sell it, that you open up a bid to anyone who might want to do that for you. So you have an open bid process. And then the next one was recommended because we're accepting those federal funds. It's fairly lengthy. And it's just so that we can accept those federal funds as grants, donations, gifts, devices, or bequests. And it's just sort of so that we can accept appropriate and expand grant funds. And we do apply for quite a few grants. So, Article 26 is, shall the town repeal the accessory dwelling unit ordinance enacted in 2014? And this is to comply with LD 2003 and the changes that were required because the ordinance was no longer in compliance with the new law. Article 27 is, shall the town repeal the Town of Hollis zoning ordinance enacted in November 1973, last amended 2022, and adopt the amended Town of Hollis zoning ordinance as written. The planning board has been working very diligently to update the ordinance, and there were so many changes that we wanted to repeal the one and amend the new one. They'll still be working through the summer on amending the rest of the ordinance, so you'll probably see that in November again. They're going to be working on cluster housing, on, I think, animal husbandry. Greg, what else are you working on? It's just a mixture of a lot of things, definitions, and sort of the use table, and making it all so that if there's something on the use table, there's an explanation. And I know they have a list they're working on, so.
So if anybody is interested in working on this zoning amendment, the agenda items will be posted on the agenda prior to each planning board. So if you look on the town's website in the planning board section, you can follow what we'll be working on each meeting. And bring up items that you'd like to see changes on at that time as well.
And then we're going to put a plug in because they are looking for a new member on the planning board. We'll be discussing that a little later, but just so you know, they are looking for another member. So, Article 28, shall the floodplain management ordinance for the town of Hollis, Maine, enacted on June 14, 1997, be repealed and adopt the updated version of the floodplain management ordinance. And this is because they updated the floodplain maps and the ordinance itself because of the change in floods and stuff because of all the increased rain we've been having. So it's just an updated version. So it's a state requirement. We have to have it updated by July 17th or something like that, I want to say. And then Article 29, shall the town adopt the ordinance titled Ordinance to Establish a 5-member Select Board Town Manager form of government. And would anybody like to speak to that? Or no? And they've been, they have a web page, right? A Facebook page, sorry. So why don't you just get up and tell them about your Facebook page, just real quick, so everybody knows about that. That's where they can get information. Thanks, Nancy.
Nancy Ponzetti, live here in Hollis for 40 years. One of the members of 8 members on the committee that drafted this ordinance. We do have a Facebook page. Greg McPherson and Jim Boughton have been putting things together for it. It's Hollis Residents for a Town Manager, and it's been up on Facebook for a while. We also have some flyers and posters, information that we're going to be putting around. Also, we have an article going into the Waterboro Reporter probably next Thursday, and a television interview this Friday with Saco River Television's Patrick Bonson. So we're trying to get the word out. Hopefully people will read what we have put out on the Facebook page. Also, too, if you look, the ordinance is also online here in Hollis, and we just hope people will, consider it carefully and show up and vote on June 11th or vote by absentee ballot. Does anyone have any questions? Greg is here, was on the committee. Joe Ponzetti's here, he was on the committee. And Maynard Sharon's here, he was the chair of the committee.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anything on Zoom? No? Article 30 and 31 are both for the all-terrain vehicle ordinance, Town of Hollis, Maine, to operate on a section of Deerwander Road, 1.17 miles from the railroad bed to the large pole line, and on the Saco Road, 1.25 miles from the Saco Road pole line to the trail entrance on River Road at tax map 6, lot 31. Any questions on those? That's just so that they can connect to the major trails, and it is really a trial basis, because if it doesn't work out, we could always amend or delete it. But it's so that they hopefully won't be on other roads as much. Anybody? Go ahead.
No, you go ahead. Rob's gonna say anything?
I know. Hi, Steve Scontress. I live on Saco Road. I was surprised to find out about this on Facebook a couple weeks ago, because a year ago I came to the town meeting and there's a different board, at least two of you were different, and we were told then that there was going to be at least another meeting before the board even considered it, and we would all be notified. So I'm curious, a couple things. How did it get on the warrant? Because I know I wasn't informed that it was coming up. And when we vote on the warrant, are we voting on each individual article?
Yes, you are.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
I mean, I have no issue with people riding ATVs. It's not my thing. I could care less, though. What I do have an issue with is basically the pretty quiet road that I live on now is kind of going to be turned into an ATV trail. When I came to the meeting a year ago, the president of the Hollis Freewheelers, he was very forthcoming. I appreciate that. He said, somebody asked how many trips or how many a day might it be, like on a weekend. And I couldn't believe it. He said 200. That's what he said. You figure that out, how many trips per hour that would be. I just think it's excessive. Also, if you look at, and I know it's probably not what you wanted me to talk about, but they have access to that trail from another way, the one that go on the power line. And if it doesn't pass, or if it wasn't even on the warrant, no one's stopping them from using those trails. This is more of a want than a need, is a good way to put it. Also, to keep in mind, people watching, hopefully they all come out and vote, it isn't just going to be the Hollis ATV Club using Saco Road and Deerwander Road. The Buxton, Waterboro, Leamington, and maybe, I don't know if there's a club in Standish, they're all going to use it. It's really going to be a negative change to the quality of life of people that live on these roads. And I'm curious, because you had said, Mary, that it's going to be a trial basis. I'm curious what the process would be to reverse it if it's granted and passes.
If we got enough complaints in writing with specifics, I think that we would reconsider it at some point. I think that's the understanding we had with the ATV people.
Okay. Can it be brought up using the same process to get on the warrant to take it off as it was to put on?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Can you explain to me a little bit how it got on?
It got on because they came to a select board meeting, in May? Or when did they come initially?
There was a select board meeting?
Yeah, they came to a select board meeting. It was announced, and they came and presented.
How was it announced? I'm
And
curious. I'm not,
on the web page,
the other one, I believe I got an email as a Saco Road resident. So, I mean, again, really was kind of blindsided by it. And I know I know Roger wasn't on the board then. I'm not sure. I think you got reelected. I mean, or elected back in. You weren't here. But we were told then, don't worry, there's going to be a lot more meetings. They're going to be notified. And then to find out about it on Facebook, on a Facebook group, hey, this is coming up. It's Article 29 and 30 or whatever it is. I really think you're kind of blindsided. And that's just what I want to say. And people, I hope.
Oh, they came before the board a couple of times. They even did a presentation.
A year ago, I came to that one,
Yeah.
and that's when we were told, we're not even near a final decision on this. It just sounds like. They came
well,
to-
actually, the select board could have made a final decision that we were just going to allow it, but we wanted to put it before the people
Right.
to vote on, to make a decision, rather than make our own decision,
Right.
which is what
So
Waterboro
just
did.
because they came to the board, I'm not being rude, just because they came to the board and asked for it, you decided to put it on the warrant. It wasn't. You're
So
saying-
that people could make a decision on their own on whether they wanted to allow it or not.
I'm just curious how many of the people that want to put it on the warrant live on one of the two roads. They're going to have to put up with this.
I live on Deer Wanda.
Yeah, well, good luck. 200 trips a day is ridiculous. But I appreciate you letting me vent.
Thank you.
That's fine, thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, folks.
Good evening.
My name is Paul DeChambeau. I live at 118 Saco Road. Been there for about 10, 12 years now. I have some very lovely neighbors. And,
He's paid to say that.
I was really surprised to see this on a warrant as well. Last time I looked into this, it wasn't, the idea was in flux. And it didn't look like it was going to work very well. Now I see that it's part of a warrant, and I'm really surprised to see that. Because there's a limited number of property owners that are going to be affected directly because of the path of where it's going to start and where it's going to end on the Saco Road portion. So it seems to me like, someone could have jotted down some names, addresses, and sent out some notices, but that didn't happen. I was really surprised that I had to pick it up elsewhere. Enforcement. I joked about it earlier tonight. We don't have a police department.
Right.
Running four-wheelers up and down Saco Road, back and forth, all hours of the day, every day, sometimes at night. I don't see where there's any daytime, nighttime, hourlies, restrictions. Doesn't make much sense. And when you think, there aren't that many people with four-wheelers in our area, think again. There's a lot. There's also no prohibition that I can see that wouldn't allow people from out of state to come and join them as well. Can't imagine where they're going to park with their trailers as they go back and forth past my house. Now, we all made quite a contribution and in investment in this area. I lived in Hollis back in the 70s and 80s, went to Saco for a while, and came back when I retired, and I'm very happy that I did. And like I say, we made a substantial investment here, and we want to stay here. It's nice and quiet. People have children, dogs, and we just enjoy watching the deer in the morning and the turkeys come by, and we're going to be losing a lot of the wildlife, the birds chirping, singing. It just
doesn't fit for this particular area. It seems to me that there's enough people in these groups that they can easily group together, raise some money, and go buy a gravel pit somewhere. It's just not something that should be allowed on a residential area. We don't allow big trucks in that area, at least the signage says so. And we don't have any type of law enforcement that we can call in case there is an issue. So I can imagine that there's going to be a lot of confrontation. And it's just not something that really fits in that particular area. Now, you're probably going to think I'm pretty selfish about this, but it wasn't there when I got there. It's there now, and it's not right. Somewheres somebody dropped the ball. And I'm here to tell you that I'm ready to pick up the ball and run with it. There isn't enough people in the area who know about this particular item. I spoke to a couple of neighbors. They didn't know it was part of the warrant that's being presented tonight. They wish they had. They have the same questions that I have. Is it proper to run through CMP pole lines? Who owns that? Who's gonna maintain that? What if there's an issue? How many four-wheelers are there involved? Don't think it's a couple of dozen. It's hundreds. It's hundreds. And any weekend, you could stop at any gas station in the area and see them filling up. There's tons of them, and they don't live here. We do. We're paying the taxes. I don't think we ought to shut them down, but I don't think we ought to have them in our front yard. And that's exactly where they're going. So I would agree with Steve. It's not something that we bargained for. It's not something that fits in what we were hoping for. And I'm sure that we can work something out, but this isn't the answer. And I'm hoping that you folks and everybody else here will understand that. I don't want to take away their fun and games, but I'd like to work with them to find something that's going to make some sense. And it might just be a piece of tax-acquired property that makes sense. Thank you very much. Appreciate
You're
your
welcome.
attention.
Thank you.
Oh, come on.
Sure.
Of course.
I know the answer, but I'm going to ask because I
Okay.
it's on the warrant, so
Mhm.
it's going to be.
Yep, voted on, yep.
Yes.
So there's no way of taking it off or anything.
No,
like that.
there isn't.
Okay. Things like this always on a off-season not off-season election, but as opposed to November, it's always on the June ballot.
Not always. Sometimes it's in November when we have a November election.
Yeah, because okay,
As long as it meets the timeline.
yeah. Okay, thank you.
And this is as a resident, I'd have to say that I see just so many ATVs on Haley Road going into Saco or vice versa. Because if you look at the corner of Saco and Haley, on the right-hand side, when you hit the stop sign at the end of Saco, there's a big, they cut the corner. And they've done that all last year. So I don't think it's just Saco Road or any other road that they go on. Maybe this would help. Maybe it would decrease their use of other roads. I don't know. And we listen.
I live on Deer Warner, and they're flying up and down all the time right now.
Already.
I mean, I'm going to go back to what this gentleman said. We're lawless.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you see
It's
it
what
as
Hollis is,
mentioned. I mean,
Hollis is
until
known
the day
for.
comes
Yeah.
that we
And
have our
again-
own
Yeah.
police department,
It's
hopefully somewhere
ironic.
down the line.
I'm sorry, Jack. It's ironic. About a month or two before the meeting a year ago, I remember I
Mhm.
was watching, seemed like right before dusk, a couple of young kids would go down their dirt. I go, that's part of like living out in the country. I got no problem with one kid, trying to get home, whatever for dinner they're going to shoot down there. And then this came up and I was like, wow, now it's going to be given the town's blessing to use it. And like Paul said, the volume's going to be
I don't
quite a
think
bit.
you're giving them the blessing. I think you're putting it there for the people it's gonna be up to the people. And listen to what you're hearing tonight.
What I mean.
So it's not us saying,
No. What I mean, Jack, is if it passes,
yeah,
and I
Mhm.
know it's the whole town-wide vote,
Mhm.
and like Paul said, it's gonna be just really the people on the two roads that are affected. But once it's approved, it's okay, so there's no limit as to how many trips can be made. That's what I mean when I say then they're given the blessing or the go-ahead to use the road as part of their trail. And again, four-wheeling's not my thing. I could care less if people want to do it. I like to do different things. I like to hike, I like to golf. A lot of people don't like to do that.
see what's really happening in this town? This town is growing.
Yeah.
Okay? And as the residents come in and it's taking away these trails, it's obvious,
Yeah.
so they're looking for other options. Are they good options or not? That's for the folks to decide.
They've got the trails now. And again,
They don't have the connections according to the
Right,
ATV people.
Right, Mary, and that's what I meant when I said it's more of a want than a need. They've got trails they can access from, and the power line one from Soccer Road going northeasterly, I think you can connect it from the other end, like from the Plains Road end. And also, I've only been here 4 years. Not that I have to say this, but some people always bring it up on social media
Mhm.
when you disagree with something. Born and raised in Saco, a dozen years in Buxton, 25 years in Gorham. I've been here for 4.
Oh
So it's
my
not-
God,
no,
he's
what
not eighth generation.
I know, yeah. No, what I mean is, it's not like I'm coming from, Connecticut and saying, wow,
Yeah.
people are driving four-wheelers. Like I said before, I don't care when it was out of sight, out of mind. Now it's gonna be in sight and in mind, So, thank you.
You're
No,
welcome.
thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Unless someone else has something to say, I'm gonna ask the select board if they're.
If you can just go up to the mic because they can't hear you on the recordings. Thank you.
Paul DeChambeau again, 118 Saco Road.
Mm-hmm.
I'm asking the select board if it would be appropriate to entertain a motion to table this item for the next meeting.
You mean the warrant article?
We can't change the
The warrant
warrants already.
article is on June 11th. There isn't any tabling it. It will be voted on June 11th.
It'll be voted on June 11th.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Will there be any discussion at that time?
It's a secret
It's
ballot,
secret
so
ballot.
it's whatever
It's-
people
It's
vote.
out to the town.
Then I would recommend to the select board that this article be denied.
Oh,
Okay, so once people bring an idea to the select board, we had a public hearing back in March about this. There was a hearing before that. I believe the ATV people came in and spoke to us.
And they
asked
actually
for the article to be
Right.
put on, so the article was drafted. In the first public hearing I wasn't here for because I was out of state, which was on March 20th. And then there was another public hearing after that, I forget the date. So there's been 2 public hearings on this. In this hearing tonight, it's just telling you what is on the warrant and it will go through.
So there's no withdrawing anything tonight.
Is the select board voting or making a recommendation on this article today?
No, we're not.
No. We're in a public hearing right now. We don't make any motions like that during a public hearing.
And if you notice on the article itself, we didn't make a recommendation because we're leaving it up to the people.
So when it comes up in June 11th, will it
Sorry.
be as a batch vote or individual votes?
Well, every person comes up and gets a warrant, a ballot, and votes on it on each article. Yes.
All right. Thank you for your time.
You're welcome.
Good evening. Greg McPherson, Vice President of the Hollis Snowmobile Club.
Yeah.
Different hat on today. Huh? So, this article seems to be getting a lot of bad blood tonight, and I just want to put a different perspective on this. I'm not much of an ATVer myself, but I can definitely attest to how hard it is to get new trail access and maintain trail access that we currently have and have had for many years because of new owners coming in and shutting down trails. So part of this new access is actually the ATV club is going to get a grant to clean up and improve the trail from 117 over to Saco Road, which will not only help the ATV club make a shorter route from Waterboro to the Saco Hollis trails, which will hopefully bring some more business to town to our gas stations, that maybe some Waterboro gas stations. So that could always be a good potential upside of this that we're not thinking about. And then again, it would also help the Hollis trails for the snowmobile club. We don't get much snow around, so any improvement that we can get with the help of the ATV club is definitely appreciated. So there's definitely some wet spots in that trail that are right now impassable for most of the season. So they would take care of that, working with C&P, getting all those easements, getting that corridor through there. So they'd actually get a grant to improve those trails. I think this is a great opportunity to see some of the growth that Waterboro is getting from their ATV trails and club, because you go down there and you can't go to their gas station there. Everybody's not buying a hot dog and a sandwich and 5 gallons of gas, and I think Hollis can use every bit of business they can get. So if this brings one more bit of business, I think this is a great idea for Hollis.
Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. And I just want to thank the ATVers who went out and cleaned up the trails going from the power line on Saco to Lower Tarbox, because now I don't have to try to. My dog thinks I should be able to jump over trees, and I can't. So thank you to whoever cleaned those up, because it was really a nice walk today, not to have to go around trees or over trees. So thank you. Anybody else on ATVs?
Okay.
Jesse?
Hi. I just had like a random question. So basically, I don't have access to the Facebook group, but I tried to reach out a while back. Our property hits right against the trail, and I was just curious as to how we have a fence that butts up against it, and we've had vandalism against our fence, and I was curious to know, how do I find out if that trail is specifically publicly maintained, or if it's privately maintained, or how do I address that with somebody? Or I'm just curious how you guys deal with that.
Greg, do you know anything about? She's speaking over by Harmon Farms, off of Sarah Vaughn.
I'd contact ATV Club.
ATV Club.
Contact them directly. The president probably. I'm sure there's a
So I can send you the contact for the ATV Club.
Oh, okay, because I've contacted them before, and they didn't seem to care. So.
Well, I'll contact them tomorrow and ask them to get back to me about it, okay?
Okay, thanks.
Thanks, you're welcome. Anybody?
Oh. I understand where the gentleman before, I can understand the concern of having that trail come through. I'm all for ATVs. I think it's a great thing to have the trail, and everything. But it is hard being right up against the trail. It's difficult. It can be hard, especially at night. So I understand that.
Well, thank you.
I think these folks are also looking to do a lot of their own policing, and any type of rogue riders, that cause problems and stuff, when they were talking about it. I think what I'm listening to is some of you folks probably, if you got some good ideas, to reach out to them and just say, hey, what's the feasibility of maybe? But what he's saying is that it's getting tougher and tougher because a lot of trails are getting shut down, and then, trying to get access to connect. I think this is one way to try to shorten everything. I don't have the answers. I see them right now. They're running everywhere on Deer Wander Road. But how do you get a handle on it? Maybe it might be a good thing. It may not be a good thing. I look at it, maybe is it trial and error? I don't know. But it will be up to the people whether they want it or not. That'll be the bottom line.
Martha Huff, Hollis Town Clerk. I'm going to jump in a little bit because I've heard a few questions, so I might be able to answer them. Because we vote secret ballot in Hollis, the warrant has to be signed 60 days before the election so that people can vote absentee 30 days before the election. So then I'm going to jump in my little plug. Absentee ballots are now available. I just want to say that Hollis annual town meeting is always held in June. November, occasionally you have special town meetings or anytime throughout the year. As a clerk, my saying on that is special town meetings are the exception, not the rule. So I always like to say that to the select board. And I just want to say to people, I've seen some advertising on Facebook. Please be careful if you're telling voters to vote for a specific warrant article to make sure that you've got the correct warrant article number. I think there's one group that's advertising and it's not their warrant article, so it's like, you guys are okay. But that could really cause some major confusion. We can't answer your questions at the polls, so that's why I would encourage you to get absentee ballots. They'll be online. Bennett already has all the ordinances online, all that. And while I'm up here doing the absentee ballot, I'm going to finish it if that's okay.
That's fine.
You can request your absentee ballot online at maine.gov. It's a big long email, so I say maine.gov. Type in request an absentee ballot. It'll take you to that website, and you can choose if you're in the United States or if you're an overseas voter, meaning like in the military or you're in Africa or something. You can request your ballot, and I just want to clarify that. You can request your ballot online this time because it's a state election. When it's only a town meeting, like next June, will probably be just a town meeting. You can't do that. We don't have that ability. So it does go back and forth sometimes, and it confuses people. You can call me at my phone at 929-8552, extension 18. You can only request your own ballot. Many couples now call and you get the husband, he'll say, hold on, Mary's right here. And Mary gets on and tells her date of birth and all the information I need. They're out we've already mailed some out. Your school budget ballot will be mailed to you May 24th. If the school budget passes on Thursday, May 23rd. So if you want to vote on the school budget, you need to be at Bonnie Eagle High School on May 23rd at 6. It's not a long meeting. I'll tell you, they've got it down to a science, and you are in and you are out. And so if you want to participate in that, that's where you vote on the school budget. The last day to register to vote by mail is May 21st. And the last day to change your party for the June 11th election, you can enroll in a party or change your party up until May 24th. After that, you're in that party. And the last day to request your absentee ballot is Thursday, June 6, 2024. And it is a election where you can, if you're unenrolled, when you come to the polls or request your absentee ballot, You may select Republican or Democrat if you choose. You don't have to, but you have that opportunity to do that without enrolling in that party. So that's kind of a new one for us clerks, so we're working through that. So thank you for letting me get that on the air. So I
Thank
appreciate
you.
that very much.
Anything else on the ATV articles? Article 32, shall the town pursuant to 23 MRSA Section 3025 vote to dedicate Logan's Run Homeowners Association easement so we make Logan's Run a townway. And that's just a fancy way of accepting them as a town road. And then I'm going to let Roger read Article 33 because we have to read it totally.
Shall the voters of the town of Hollis adopt the Second Amendment to the Poland Springs Water Municipal Development Tax Increment Financing District as adopted to be pursuant to the following findings? And I'm going to shorten this up real quick. Basically what's happened is the state of Maine has passed a new law. Nate, our representative from the area, produced the bill and it went through. So what it does is it allows to add in being able to spend TIF money on building the new town hall. And it basically says we can spend up to 50% of the TIF amount. And by the time we get there, we'll have about $7 million in the TIF. So basically what it is we're amending it just to add in the new law that says we can spend 50% of the TIF money on the new town hall. And that's basically going in, and there's a lot of legal that goes along, whereas we entered the agreement, the state law was changed, and if you notice in your package, you'll see the wording that it changes to. And it basically adds a new exemption in. Oh, where is it? I was going to read it for you, but basically we're following state statute. We're amending the TIF agreement. This goes hand in hand with building the new town hall. Is approving this article so that we can use the money to build the town hall, which is the $3.5 million. And you notice in the wording of that in Article 17, the construction will be financed through the TIF agreement subject to the TIF amendment approval. This is the TIF amendment approval that goes hand in hand with Article 17 to spend the money. Any questions?
So we really need
Go-
you to
go
vote
ahead.
on both 17 and this one to be
Go
able
ahead.
to spend the money.
If you would, please.
Okay, so if Article 33 doesn't get passed, what happens to the town hall one if that one does get passed? Where does that 3.5 million come from?
Well, good question. State law already tells us we can use TIF money to build the town hall. What this is the town approving the new state law into our TIF agreement.
So regardless, you guys can use that money.
Well, we'd have to cross that bridge when we get there, but the state law says we can. But we're amending our TIF agreement so that we can.
We're just trying to cross T's and dot I's so that we're in compliance so that especially where we're getting a federal grant.
Because I think you guys said that about the floodplains too, like that has to be done by July 11th.
17th.
17th,
But
yeah.
we're still voting on it. So even if we don't vote no, it needs to be done.
Well, we won't be in compliance with the state regulations. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Greg.
Greg McPherson, Planning Board. sort of the floodplains management plan, if that is not in compliance, then there's a possibility that people will not be able to get flood insurance. So if the town does not adopt that, flood insurance to those homeowners is at risk. So we can vote to not do it, but we're putting residents at risk. So it's been included in many public hearings. Every planning board that we've talked about it. That's always an issue that every board in the town has, is getting voter engagement. We put it out everywhere that we can, and if nobody shows up, we can't drag them out of their house, unfortunately. So if anybody has any suggestions on how to fix that, definitely all ears. But that definitely has been discussed. I don't think we're allowed to put that on the warrant article itself. So.
Right.
Well, most everything is published, and Bennett updates our website constantly with all this information. We've just figured the computer and the website is the easiest way for our town people to stay informed.
And it's very expensive to send out mailers.
Yeah,
so.
And you can go on and watch any of the meetings, the planning board meetings, select board meetings, appeals, finance, all of them are recorded. Okay.
So I think that concludes the warrant.
Yes, it does.
Any other questions about the warrant or the TIF finance agreement revision? Anything at all anybody wants to discuss before we make a motion to close the public hearing?
Make a motion, we close the public hearing. Oh, hold on. I'll put the brakes on.
Thank you guys. Remember our last meeting on April 15th, you said you guys would have.
We're going to be
have
discussing that.
We have to close this
We
hearing.
have to close this to open that.
Okay,
We'll be
I'll
getting
wait.
that down
Motion
to
to-
public comment.
Motion to close public hearing and reconvene the select board meeting.
Second.
All agree?
Yes.
All right. So, then we're just going to do our agenda. So just be a couple minutes. So the first thing on the agenda is to approve some minutes from 3/6 and 3/20. And let me make sure everybody was here. So on 3/6, everybody was here, so if I could have a motion to approve the 3/6 meeting minutes.
Motion to
approve 3/6/24.
Second.
All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
And then the 3/20 meeting minutes, I think it was just Jack and I. So Jack, if you could make a motion.
Make a motion to accept 3/20/24.
I second it. All those in favor, aye.
I abstain.
Because he was on vacay. And then under new business, we have an appointment. Can I do that?
Municipality of Hollis to Crystal Goddard of Hollis in the County of York, State of Maine. We do, in accordance with the provisions of the law, State of Maine, hereby appoint you as Deputy Register of Voters within the Municipality of Hollis, Maine, serving a term until June 30th, 2025, giving under our oath this 15th day of May, 2024.
And then we already announced, but we'll announce it again, we do have a vacancy on the planning board. So if you're interested, if you can just fill out a request to be on the planning board and send it to the administrative office or the select board. And we'd be happy to entertain anybody that would like to be on the planning board. They meet every other Wednesday. Well, they meet, the second and fourth Wednesday, because every once in a while we have a fifth Wednesday, but they meet on the second and fourth Wednesday at 7 p.m. here in the community building. And then I need a motion.
Motion to vote to schedule a public hearing on June 5th at 7 p.m. for a renewal of a cannabis business license for an adult-use cannabis retail store located at 321 Hollis Road, Maine, LLC, owned by Shane Ward.
I second that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Payroll and warrant totals. Payroll last week was $27,894. The payroll this week was $26,687. The warrant last week was $35,497. The warrant this week was $577,875, and that included the school and non-municipal requests. Non-municipal requests we pay twice in the year, and we did all the non-municipal requests that we approved last year with this payroll. With this warrant. Purchase orders. 4349 is for IPS for the fire department from Chief Young for annual flow testing of SCBA's, OSHA, and BLS annual required testing, 27 packs, not to exceed $2,500. Purchase order 4383 is from Rob Hansen for highway to replace 2 driveway culverts at 382 and 489 Mansion Road, not to exceed $9,000. Purchase order 4384 from Rob Hansen, RMDL, is to replace a 15-inch by 40-foot culvert at 115 Darbic Terrace, not to exceed $4,500. Purchase order 4385 from Rob, the road commissioner, to replace a 15-inch by 60-foot road crossing culvert at 34 Pleasant Hill Road, not to exceed $6,500. Purchase order 4386 from the Biddeford Police Department through Chief Young is partial payment for 24-25 fiscal year dispatch services, not to exceed $4,745. My understanding from the chief is that they had told us there wasn't going to be an increase in cost for next year, but then they sent us an increase, so we need to move some money to pay for that for next year.
He had it left in his budget this year.
And he had it left in his budget this year. And then purchase order 4387 is to the Gorham Flag Center for Chief Young for 30 new American flags and poles and brackets for telephone poles around town, not to exceed $2,200, and that's to put the flags up for Memorial Day. I was going to say Veterans Day, but wrong holiday. And then the only correspondence we have is from the Buxton Hollis Historical Society. They're going to be presenting the Lost Pequot. Huh? Pequot tribe of the Saco River on Tuesday, May 21st at 7 p.m. at 100 Main Street, Route 4A, Bar Mills, Maine, to be presented by Brenton Hill. To explore the 12,000-year history of the first Americans along the Saco River. We'll correct misunderstandings regarding the relationships with European settlers and discuss archaeology findings of their living sites and stone tools. So that's on Tuesday, May 21st at 7 p.m. at the Historical Society. And then under other business, Roger would like to do this one.
Okay, as you know, we put out an RFP for owner's rep for the town of Hollis, town hall construction. We received 4. One was from Massachusetts, and the remaining 3 was from Maine. We have Salmon Falls Consulting, Dorigo Architectural, City Building Engineer Services, they were from Burlington, Mass., and Collier Project Leaders in Bedford, Maine. After the board reviewed the RFPs, we had elected to go with Salmon Falls Consulting LLC in Hollis. So as soon as we get past June 11th and we start the construction, we're going to have a person there that's going to have our best interest in mind and making sure that everything goes according to plan with the building of the new town hall.
And you get everything you pay for.
Yeah, and then some.
And then Jack's going to talk a little bit about tree cleanup from our last storm. I did hear from Chris today that he had heard that the FEMA has gotten approval. It just has to wait for the president's signature, and then it should be coming out online on how to apply if you had a lot of damages. But
Yeah, if we qualify.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's still in progress from the last storm, tree damage, you know, the hazardous stuff. We have pork chop tree service going around, and then we have RMDL that's trying to clean up brush. They're making great headway on it, but there's still remaining stuff out there. So, folks, if you happen to see a hanger out there, please give us a jingle so we can get rid of it before anything happens. But it is ongoing. Hopefully, within the next couple weeks, it should be all cleaned up. Hopefully.
And that's as long as we don't get any high windstorms that bring more
Take
trees
them down.
down. So
We just found that there was so many hangars over our public ways, which would lead to a hazardous situation for our people traveling our roadways, that we decided as a board to spend some money to take care of that issue.
And then we just want to review with people on trash that we do recycle. So please separate your trash into recycle and trash. Please try to put it in containers and not just bags so the crows don't get into it and spread it all over the neighborhood, because I don't know about you, but I appreciate not having my neighbor's trash in my yard. And we know that everybody has been very patient with the lateness of the trash pickup, and they are working on that as diligently as they can.
Well, they're looking at it, 4 p.m. the day before or 6 a.m. in the morning. But that doesn't mean they're going to pick it up, 6 a.m. It's that day, okay? I'm just going to jump on this one.
Mm-hmm.
Don't put recyclables in plastic bags, okay? And 32 gallons, no larger than 32-gallon containers with handles. And if you're going to put stuff out at 4 p.m. the day before, and it may have some food waste, have it a container with a lid on it. Because what's going to happen, the critters are going to get there and spread it all over, and they're not going to pick it up. They pick up daily during the week. We all know that. Let's see. Oh yeah, cut up cardboard too. If you can cut cardboard up and put it in a cardboard box, that's fine. But leaving big sheets of cardboard out there, not going to happen. Or don't put leaves and twigs and everything in those big leaf bags, because they're not going to take that. Find somebody's lawn to throw it on. No, I'm kidding. I got plenty of room. I use it for compost.
I knew he was going to offer his address.
No problem.
And the other place that takes it is, what's the name of the place over in Buxton that takes leaves and stuff? Broadturn Farms is still taking leaves. And if you're chipping up wood, they'll take wood chips. And they're very happy to take any of that stuff. But you have to deliver it. And then the last thing on other business is that, we have a Boston Post cane. I think it's, I don't know, is it gold or something? But it's kept in the safe. And the oldest person in Hollis is supposed to have the cane. And we recently lost Marcia Larson. Died very recently, so we're looking to see who's the oldest person in Hollis. We really think that it's probably Louis De Silva, who I think is 103, but if you know anybody that's older than 103, please let us know because we'd like to do the presentation of the Boston cane.
Rick, don't look at me.
1,200. And then Roger's going to do the upcoming town committee and board meetings.
Conservation Committee meeting Thursday, May 16th, 5:30. Planning Board meeting Wednesday, May 22nd at 7 p.m. Sports Complex Committee meeting Thursday, May 23rd at 7 p.m. Select Board meeting Wednesday, June 5th, 7 p.m. Community Day Committee meeting will be on Thursday, June 6th. Do you know what time?
And I want to probably correct that because I want to think for some reason that it's the 2nd of June, if that's a Monday. Oh, well, what's the Monday?
3rd.
Because I want to say it's a Monday at 6, but we'll clarify that and have it on the webpage.
There you have it.
And then we're up to public comment.
Yeah, we can address anything with the pond.
Huh?
With what?
Addressing anything.
Oh,
with the pond.
we have one more thing with the
But
pond.
you can go up
But you
there.
can go up. We just
Go up
have
there
a
and-
quick announcement. He just wants to talk about the pond.
Well, as you noticed recently, we had the pond cleaned up, get rid of all the cattails, you know, so when they play this winter, you know, hockey, they'll be able to find their puck, you know, won't be out so many cattails, kids. They just put 200 trout in there.
And they're jumping.
Yeah. But we don't allow shiner trapping in there. And these kids are throwing, you know, the lures out there and they're catching the lines on the shiner traps. And it is for 15 and under. So I hope everybody will respect that, let the kids have a good time catching these fish. The shiners in there is their main course meal, unfortunately, because they're like tiger trout. But they are jumping, and if you have young kids, grandkids, bring them down. Start catching some of these fish. They are some nice fish.
So when they brought him down, Jack was here, and I guess they bring him down in buckets, and they were jumping out of the buckets, and he was having to pick them up and put them back. So it was quite a day.
Wish I had bigger pockets.
Yes, ma'am.
It's me again. Just wanted to see if we had any updates for Harmon Way and Sarah Vaughan today.
Yeah, well, we had sent out a notice of violation, and we're waiting for a response back at this point. I know Mary and her brother went out there, and do you want to talk?
So
on
the
that?
violation was for the common land and for the road itself, for the amount of water and drainage issues. And then my brother Rob and I went out, and thank you so much for all your input and stuff. We really had a nice visit with you on Sunday. And he's currently working on writing a report to provide to our lawyer and to us on what he found. And so he's one of those, he likes to make sure that he's not giving inaccurate information. So he's checking all the soil sites and all the watershed sites and everything he can find. So he should have that done by next week. But he doesn't like to make a mistake and then be misquoted if we do have to go to court or something. So
It's unfortunate he wasn't part of this to begin with.
Right.
It was developed, but
Yeah.
I appreciate him coming out and looking at it. So.
But thank you for being so. We met everybody except the one person in the left-hand first house.
Yeah, I think Jay and Amanda were out
Yeah.
that day, but yeah.
Yeah, but it was very pleasant. Thank you.
We sent out, right, as you said?
Yep.
It's the developer.
Right.
So we're just waiting for the response.
And I do have new contact information for the DEP if you need that. I was able to get that today, so.
And then I was wondering if sometime you could send us your info on your on Bill's father.
Yep, I can do that.
Just because Rob would like that, if it's okay with you.
Sure.
But thank you.
Thank you.
So we know there's, you know, taking a little bit more time than we thought, but we just want to be accurate and thorough and sort of know what we're talking about.
And we are moving forward.
Sounds good.
We really are. I mean, it might not seem that way, but we are.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
No, thank you.
Okay, we have a
Oh,
question.
you got somebody?
Hi, Rachel. We can't hear you, Rachel.
Sorry about that. I was trying to unmute.
Oh, okay.
Can I just, I didn't catch what the violation was, and I was just curious on if it was affecting, if the violation was for all of Saravon or if it's just for Harmon Way.
It was just for Harmon's Way, for the open space and for the roadway itself, which sort of probably affects Saravon also because of the drainage issues.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, Rachel, there's only certain things that we can act on, and we're acting on what we can.
Anything else? Any last minute thoughts on anything? This is your time. Okay. What? I just want to make sure.
Unrelated to our situation, but the warrant. I have a question because I heard you say something about the ATV club. Like, had you guys wanted to, you guys could have just decided as a select board to pass it.
Right.
So, like the things, I guess, like the floodplain and the TIF. Why can't you guys just pass that then?
Because the state requires that we
Okay, so for things
put
that,
it to the voters. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it's just like anything. If somebody comes up, I'll use the 5-member board. They came to us in a meeting and asked to put it on the warrant. Sure, let the people decide. People from the ATV club approached us, asked for it to be on the warrant. So, being fair to their committee, we're being fair to the ATV committee too.
Because
so that is why it's on the warrant.
Treat everybody the same way.
But most of like the state, anything that's related to the state statute, because the legislative body or the voters are really our bosses, we have to present it to them to vote on. So the floodplain map, the changes in the zoning, you know, even though the state said this is what you'll do, we still have to submit it to the voters for approval.
Some of it's just housekeeping items, like the TIF agreement. We have to update the TIF agreement in order to spend the money we need to build the town hall. It's just housekeeping things.
And then, as far as, I guess, the ATV thing, just hearing both sides, as I don't live near either of those roads. So I guess for me, is it normal protocol that you guys notify all of the homeowners and get like their consent before putting it on the warrant, or is this just how it always is?
All we do is publicize it the best we can.
Okay.
We have the means to. And that's why we constantly ask people to check the town website, watch the meetings, and become informed on some of these important issues that are coming up. You know.
Because actually with the ATV trails, if you remember, now I won't be able to think of the name of the road, but it was the road by Moderation. It goes up High Street.
High Street.
There was a proposal to have, you know, an ATV, to have, I don't know whether it was High Street or Moderation or one of those roads involved with the ATV trail, and they made other arrangements so they didn't have to use that section of the road because we had so many people come to the public hearing and speak about it.
It was a hazardous intersection down there, period. That's what it is.
And the same thing with Originally, when they had come to propose Saco Road, they were talking about being on 35 for a short period down at the corner and then coming down Saco. And they made other arrangements with some of the homeowners to have a different way to get onto Saco Road.
But, well, that came about because of the research I did. You can't operate on state highways under the Inland Fishery and Wildlife. You're not supposed to be operating ATVs on those. So that's why they had to change it to that map and lot number on off Saco Road in order to run the trail. So that's why. And also the moderation. That's all part of state aid roads.
You guys mentioned too, a lot of it has to do with the increased development in Hollis interfering with the current trails. Is there anything like happening with that as far as trying to prevent more of the trail access from being built on? Or,
You can't really, because if you buy a piece of property and want to build a house, like Heather Lane used to have a snowmobile trail that came down and then went essentially down Heather and over to, the other side of Saco Road. If you build a house, you can say, I don't want somebody going through my backyard.
So it's probably fair to say there will be more of this in the future as we continue to grow.
Well, some of the outlining towns, Waterboro has an ordinance allowing access on some of their roads. Leamington is looking at it because I had a phone call and they actually took our ordinance and they're reviewing it to make it compatible to what they want to do up there. So there are other towns looking at allowing ATVs to operate on public ways.
That's all I have.
Thank you. Anybody else? Anybody on Zoom? Jack?
No, we'll give it to Roger.
Roger? Oh, let's fight about who's going to do it.
I make a motion that we adjourn.
I second it. All those in
Thank you
favor,
all for
aye.
watching tonight. And
Thank you all for
for
your
coming.
input.